I just believed that we were on this journey. And so we beat Green Bay, Kansas City, we beat them. And as you mentioned earlier, that's when I got that call, and I was like, I'm confused what's going on. And I didn't believe it at first. I was like, this can't be real. And I got that call that, hey, we're gonna bench you for the next 9 games if you don't change your injury guarantee. So for me.
But be clear here, it's not, they don't want to bench you because of play. They're saying they're benching you because they want you to take out the injury guarantee.
Yeah, they want to push back my injury guarantee and remove it for that rest of the year, so that way if I get injured, that they don't have to pay it.
But that's why as a player, it doesn't even make sense to do that, because you think of those Alex Smith moments, and hell, you can even go back to college, like Willis McGahee, I believe it was, at the U, one of his last games going into NFL, he tears everything in, or maybe it's Frank Gore, everything in their knee.
I didn't want to set a precedent for players to remove their injury guarantees.
All right, welcome back to Fox Sports Net Wheeling Pittsburgh. I'm your host, Randy the Tank Tantlinger. Touchdown, Broncos! L.J. Humphreys. Sitting here watching the YouTube, Russell Wilson, 2023 season, evaluating what he's got left in the tank, what he has left as assets. Touchdown, Broncos! Oh, that would have been a good game, too. I wish I could have seen that against the Raiders. They're arch rivals. If you don't know that about the Denver Broncos, their arch rival is the Raiders. Them and Kansas don't get along a lot, but the Raiders and the Broncos, man, they go at it. So, we're talking about the Russell Wilson trade. Again, he had signed a 5-year, $243 million contract with the Broncos. He plays 2 seasons with the Broncos. They decide to move on from him. They are obligated to pay him $39 million, the Bronkies, which led to the Steelers getting him at the bargain basement league minimum price of $1.5. Now, a lot of you may not know this, but this was the best fit for Russell Wilson. And I ain't talking about his quarterbacking abilities. When you took down the Heinz name off the stadium there in the North Shore, you got yourself a new sponsor in an insurance company. You know the name. Acura, sure I'll have another drink. Acura, sure I'll have another drink stadium. It still just doesn't roll off your tongue. But that doesn't matter to Russell Wilson. He is on the board for one of the companies who invests into Acrisure, the business. You heard that correctly. So Russell Wilson, who'll be suiting up for the Steelers in Acrisure, I'll have another drink stadium, is part of a capital investment group who put some of their funds into the business, Acrisure, the sponsors of your stadium. I'm not making this up. This is real. This is true. Also, the minority owner of the Steelers, Thomas Tull, he's the one that makes all the movies, made the Hangover movies we all love, is also on the same board of the capital investment group that invested their money in Acura. Sure, I'll have another drink stadium. So, the perfect fit for Russell Wilson to come to Pittsburgh, because he knows Thomas Tull, owner, Steelers, minority, and he's an investor, i.e. owner, in Acrisure the business. Why not come to Pittsburgh? Look in on your assets there at Acrisure, I'll have another drink stadium. So, with all that aside, that's why it was a perfect fit there. Now, why was it a perfect fit for your Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think it is. Something happened between the head coach with the Broncos and Russell Wilson. The guy out in Denver ain't no Pete Carroll's. He ain't. Now, whatever really happened there, I mean, he benched Russell Wilson at one point in the season. That's hard medicine for a Super Bowl quarterback to take. Again, I've been sitting here watching the YouTube of Wilson's last two seasons, particularly last season. He does not play with diminished skills. No, in fact, he still has crazy legs. He will still run on you. He will still do damage to you with his feet. Can you say that about Mitch Trubisky? Bye-bye. No. Can you say that about Kenny? No. Russell Wilson still has his feet. This is a huge upside. Why, Tank? Why? Thank God Matt Canada is gone. He is an idiot. That guy put on full display for the entire football world to see, whether it's the Canadian Football League, whether it's this new spring XFL, USFL, whatever it's called, whether it's a European league, whether it's Division III football at Shepherd College, whether it's Bubba Bison's team, whether it's the Midget Pony League football team in Steubenville, Matt Canada put himself out there and his resume speaks for itself. This guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Hence being fired. If you go back and listen to Steelers Chalk Talk on Facebook, YouTube, you'll see that the former quarterback, Mike McMahon, and I were both calling for his head 2 seasons ago. 2 seasons ago. But not Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. They said, oh, this is our man. All right, so one last rant there about Canada. Arthur Smith is in town now. Why am I excited about Russell Wilson's mobility? Mobility. Well, what we've been led to believe, and we'll find out after 4 games, is that Arthur Smith is a lot smarter than Matt Canada. That Arthur Smith's time with the Titans and Henry the Horse down there, who's now in Baltimore, oh boy, we got problems in River City. Arthur Smith understands and will utilize not only Najee Harris the correct way, but unlike Matt Canada, who was an idiot and didn't realize he had a weapon in Jaylen Warren for 2 seasons. Matt Canada, I'll put Warren in just to give Najee a break. 8 yards, 10 yards, 12 yards, 8 yards, 12 yards, with no line blocking for him. Well, Najee's my guy. I just put Warren in because I give Najee a break on occasion. You're an idiot, Matt Canada. Now you have a man in Arthur Smith, supposedly, that understands he has a 1-2 Miami Dolphins Jim Kick, Larry Zonka punch with his running backs. What does this mean? Why does Russell Wilson's feet and mobility bring into play? It's called something you haven't seen for a while. You got used to jet sweep, jet sweep, jet sweep. I'm Matt Canada. I'm going to run a jet sweep. Play action pass. Oh my. For you people that are listening that understand football, a mobile quarterback like Russell Wilson with an offensive coordinator that now realizes he has 2 stellar running backs in Warren and Najee. It all will begin there for your impotent Steelers offense the last 3 seasons. A mobile quarterback who can thrive in a play-action offense with 2 great running backs. There is great upside to Russell Wilson. His feet, his mobility are still there. So let's go to what counts. We saw Ben's arm in the last couple seasons. Ripped up, surgically repaired, inability to go downfield. Russell Wilson can still put the money on the spot. Russell Wilson can still put the ball downfield. Russell Wilson still has all the talent at quarterback to guide an offense. Now, go back, watch the 2023 highlights with Wilson with the Denver Broncos. This will tell you what I'm seeing. Let's go through his stats real quick. Okay? He only played in 15 games both seasons. I don't know why. He had roughly a 60% completion average. He did throw, though, for 3,500 yards and 3,000 yards, averaging roughly 7 yards a throw. Last season is what you need to hang on to. You've heard the stat, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That is single-handedly better. Of course, he was sacked 45 times. 2022, 55 times. I don't know if the Steelers line is much better than that. 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That is the ratio you need to have in a starting quarterback. So, as we talk about Russell Wilson's attributes and upsides in this segment to close it out, because I got to go to commercial, the price point was right at 1.5. The fact that he's a partial owner in Sure I'll Have Another Drink Insurance is an upside. I don't know what it is. It's what we call in the business an intangible. Did Tank say tangerine? No, an intangible. Oh, he's an intangible. His feet are still there. His feet are still there. Which allows you, if Arthur Smith has a brain in his head, unlike Matt Canada, to use the play action to our advantage and score points. When we come back in the third segment, we're going to talk about evaluating Russell Wilson's arm. Because when you got a quarterback, you got to have an arm. This is Tank. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Fox Sports Net. Wheeling, Pittsburgh, 1400 AM, 103.9 FM. Frequency modulation. Yeah, that's what FM stands for. I bet you didn't know that. I don't know what AM stands for. Aunt Margaret? No idea. Hey, you're listening to Tank Tantlinger here on Fox Sports Net Wheeling. I'm here every 10 a.m. Saturday mornings. I pay the janitor, Larry, to leave the keys under the front doormat. And I sneak in here to the iHeart Studios. There ain't nobody around to stop me. They must, Craig Boomer, the manager, must not even listen to the station. They would come down here, or Corey, who helps with all the programming and basically runs the joint down here, and Craig runs the joint, and they just must not listen to their station on Saturday mornings. I bust in the joint, pay Larry $20, come in here, and I rant and I rave. I leave. They don't know who I am. They don't send me no paycheck. No, nothing, but at least I get to rant and rave and pretend I have my own radio show. So I'm Tank Tantlinger. We're talking about Russell Wilson, your new quarterback for your Pittsburgh Steelers. Evaluated in the last segment, in case you missed it. Number one, the price was right for Russell Wilson, $1.5 million. The Broncos are on the hook for $39 million, which makes him more of a jackass than a horse to Russell Wilson. Why would you let him go? Whatever. The price was right. Again, comparatively, you paid Mitch Trubisky close to $6 million last year, and how'd that work for you? Now you have Russell Wilson for $1.5 million. We talked about his experience. Like the old gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps, he'd been there, he'd done that. He can advise the younger players. Okay, all that's worth $1.5 million. But here's the thing. In analyzing Russell Wilson's performance the last 2 years with the Broncos, specifically last year, we've evaluated a couple things from watching the game tapes. Go to YouTube, look at the Broncos 2023 Russell Wilson highlights. You'll see what I see. You'll see what led him to 26 touchdowns and only 8 interceptions. Number one, the last segment we talked about, he still is a mobile quarterback, man. Did you have that with Trubisky? Nope. Did you have it with Kenny? Nope. I'm talking the man can still flat out run and dick and dunk and scoot and flip and flop from linebackers and defensive linemen and go running down the field. He still has his mobility and feet. Again, we talked in the last segment. Well, Tank, why is his feet important? Look, your new offensive coordinator is not an idiot like Matt Canada. Arthur Smith will utilize not only Najee Harris, but Jaylen Warren. Matt Canada was so stupid he left Jaylen Warren basically on a bench for 2 seasons. You and I all saw what Jaylen Warren had. Oh, here, 8 yards, 9 yard, 10 yard. Matt Canada going, oh, well, idiot. The ability for the quarterback to have mobile feet and mobility in a play action is devastating on a defense. Now you have to respect his feet. You damn well better respect Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren this season. Are you going to get beat up in the middle? Your inside linejackers, especially if we get this center out of West Virginia, better respect the run and the pass. Can you tell me that they've had any respect for our offense the last 3 years at all? Linebackers? Huh! Russell Wilson brings you feet. That brings you the ability in play action, which you're going to see a preponderance of. Rather see play action than jet sweep, jet sweep, jet sweep. It opens up a little thing we call the passing game. So, we're now going to arc to the passing game. Alright, so, Wilson's got feet. He's got agility. He now has weapons to work with. Well, think of it this way. I know the 49ers had McCaffrey, but had the 49ers had Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris, what then? Ask yourself. That's how good they are. That's how good they are. Naj and Jaylen had their feet tied, I'll say, by an idiot in Matt Canada and a very average offensive line. So, now that we've got some mobility in a quarterback, what about his arm strength? Again, go to the 2023 highlights on YouTube of Russell Wilson. You tell me if his arm is still there. 26 touchdowns passing, 8 interceptions. Playing in that nasty conference. Nasty. The AFC West, man. It's a brutal conference out there. Russell Wilson still has zing on his ball. And I talked to some of my friends in Denver. The only beef about Russell Wilson isn't his arm strength. And this goes back to his Seattle days too. He locks on to his primary receiver for the most part. He doesn't go to the third read. But that's okay. If he was a stand in the pocket quarterback, this would be a problem. However, with his mobility, with play action built into it, Russell Wilson finds his man more often than not. Again, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions last year. Combine that with his mobility. Combine that with the gunnery sergeant experience. Now, under normal circumstances, at his point in his career, he'd be done. He wouldn't be mobile. The arm would be a noodle. He'd be happy sitting on the sidelines with a ball cap. This ain't the Russell Wilson you're getting. You're getting a Russell Wilson that still has talents, not diminished. What happened in Denver with the Broncos? We'll never know. Something went wrong there. It wasn't his play. Him and the coach did not get along. Coach benched him. So, when you look at the package, you got to say, he still got it. So, looking how the Steelers came into Russell Wilson, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He still has his feet. He still has his arm. He has the acquired wise old owl knowledge of playing the game at the highest level. At the beginning of the clip, you heard Russell just 2 weeks ago come out and say what the issue was. Now, I'm not a Sean Payton fan. I think he's a clown show of a coach. So, you got that going on between Russell Wilson in Denver and Sean Payton, the clown show. In the next clip, you're going to hear Russell 2 weeks ago saying why things went awry in Denver. Well, poo-poo on Denver, and welcome to Pittsburgh.
I think we lose the next week, and then I think you called me after that game. And I just believe that we were on this journey. And so we beat Green Bay, Kansas City. We beat them. And as you mentioned earlier, that's when I got that call, and I was like, I'm confused what's going on. And I didn't believe it at first. I was like, this can't be real. And I got that call that, hey, we're going to bench you for the next 9 games if you don't change the injury guarantee. So for me,
but be clear here, it's not, they don't want to bench you because of play. They're saying they're benching you because they want you to take out the injury guarantee.
Yeah, they want to push back my injury guarantee and remove it for that rest of the year, so that way if I get injured, that they don't have to pay it.
But that's why as a player, it doesn't even make sense to do that, because you think of those Alex Smith moments, and hell, you can even go back to college, like Willis McGahee, I believe it was, at the U, one of his last games going into NFL, he tears everything in, or maybe it's Frank Gore, everything in their knee.
I didn't want to set a precedent for players to remove their injury guarantees. too as well. And so it was no way I was going to do that. And so when they said that we're going to bench you, I said, all right, that's what you want to do.
Bro, that's like extortion. Like, you got the NFLPA involved, attorneys involved, like obviously.
Well,
like,
I didn't want to, but then they kept saying it all the way throughout the week. So then, my agent talked to the
Russell Wilson. So the Broncos make a huge mistake, sign Russell Wilson to a 5-year, $243 million contract. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, say to him, oh, by the way, we need to redo your contract and take out the part there if you get Joe Theismann, that we ain't paying you the whole boat. Now, I don't know if you've listened to the show long here. I'm Tank Tantlinger. You're listening to Steelers Chalk Talk, Fox Sports Wheeling. I used to work for the NFL Players Association, the union. I worked in the contract research department. I know a little bit about contracts. I know a little bit about the CBAs. I have friends, old school football players, like Conrad Dobler. Meanest man to ever play ball. Okay? Other friends who had concussions and had mental problems. God rest his soul, my friend Justin Strelzik. I do not begrudge any NFL player for making the money they do. What they make as an NFL player is pittance compared to what the owners make. So if Russell Wilson can make $243 million, so be it. It's what the market is. For the Denver Broncos to tell him, you are going to change your contract that if you have a catastrophic injury, like Bo Jackson, like Joe Theismann, like Darryl Stingley, we ain't going to pay you. What the? Now, I don't know if any of you guys are union guys out there. Let's say you worked in a sawmill and you had a union and it said you get your workers' compensation if you lob your left hand off with an axe. Then one day the boss comes and says, guess what, guys? We're taking out that little part in your contract about the workers' compensation. So try not to lob any part of your body off that, well, would prohibit you from working from us. Your foot, your arm, your feet, your hands. We'll let you work with one eye, though. What would you say? What would you say? So, if you haven't kept up to speed why Russell Wilson is now Pittsburgh Steelers, it's not because of diminished skills. His legs are great. His arm is good. His wisdom is great. The Denver Broncos, what, Mr. Scrooge? I don't know who you compare them to. So they benched him. They vilified him. They figured it was better to pay him $39 million to come to Pittsburgh just in case he got hurt. Insanity. Now you know why Russell Wilson is in Pittsburgh. Denver's folly is Pittsburgh's gain. All right, this is Tank Tantlinger. We'll see you next week. Go golf and have fun. Don't get too drunk on St. Patrick's Day. God bless the Irish. Up the Republic!